My mother called me on a Tuesday afternoon to tell me I wasn't welcome at Christmas dinner. She didn't yell. That's the thing people never understand about my family. They don't yell. They use their calm voices, the ones that make you feel like you're the unreasonable one for being hurt. She said it like she was rescheduling a dentist appointment. We just think it would be better if you didn't come this year. That was it. No build up. No apology hiding at the end of the sentence. I was sitting in my truck at the time, still in my work clothes, steel-toed boots, Carhartt jacket, hands that smelled like engine grease even after I'd scrubbed them twice. I'd just finished a 12-hour shift at the shop. I was sitting at work eating a sad run needle. My dear sad run needle feels clear. And then my mother's voice came through the Bluetooth and that clarity just evaporated. Why? I asked. She sighed. The kind of sigh that's really a lecture compressed into one breath. Your sister's boyfriend is coming. His family is very well connected and she's trying to make a good impression. You know how you can be. I didn't say anything for a moment. I was watching a red light cycle through its colors. Green, yellow, red. Green, yellow, red. How can I be, Mom? You talk about your work constantly. You show up with grease under your nails. Last Easter, you argued with Uncle Philip about union labor for 45 minutes. He said tradespeople don't contribute to the economy. That's not the point. That's absolutely the point. Another sigh. Zoe, your sister is trying to build something with this man. He comes from a different world. His father is an investment banker. They summer in Maine. We just don't want anything to derail things. I want you to understand something. I am 31 years old. I was sitting at work, eating a sad granola bar for lunch. I didn't sad granola bar for lunch. I run a crew of 4 at an automotive repair shop outside of Columbus, Ohio, and I'm in the process of getting my contractor's license so I can open my own place by the time I'm 35. I have a 2019 F-150 that I maintain myself and a 1968 Mustang in my garage that I'm restoring on weekends just because I love it. I also show up to family dinners in clean clothes, say please and thank you, and have never once embarrassed anyone. But I work with my hands. I didn't go to college. And in my family, those two facts have always mattered more than anything else. My sister Amber is 26. She has a marketing degree and a job at a consulting firm downtown and a one-bedroom apartment that my parents help her with because the consulting firm doesn't pay as much as she told everyone it would. She has smooth hands and good posture, and she laughs at the right times, and she has never, not once, been told she makes people uncomfortable. We grew up in the same house. We had the same parents. I was sitting at her. I was sad granola bar for lunch. Except that, I think Amber decided early that the way to survive our family was to become what they wanted, and I decided the way to survive was to leave and build something they couldn't take credit for. I hung up the phone after a few more minutes of my mother explaining, very reasonably, why excluding me from Christmas was actually the kind thing to do. I sat in my truck for a while after that. Then I drove home, fed my cat, made a grilled cheese, and went to bed. I didn't call back. I didn't a sad lunch. I didn't send a long message explaining how I felt. I'd learned a long time ago that explaining your feelings to people who've already decided your feelings are inconvenient is a waste of everybody's time. What I did do was call my friend Greta. Greta is 42 and has been doing drywall since she was 23 and has zero patience for what she calls decorative suffering. She listened to the whole thing, made one long sound of disgust and said, "You're coming to my place Christmas Eve, playing that cranberry sauce you made last year. We're playing cards and nobody's going to make you feel bad about anything." I said okay. And I meant it. I really was okay. Or close enough to it. The thing is, it wasn't the first time. My mother had gently suggested I skip my cousin's graduation party because my aunt thought I might make her son's prep school friends uncomfortable. My father had once introduced me to his colleague as our daughter who's good with cars. The same way you'd say someone was good at puzzles. Like it was a hobby. Like it wasn't how I'd paid my taxes since I was 20 years old. Amber had never corrected them. Not once. So Christmas came and I spent it at Greta's house with her husband and their two kids and another couple from our Lex softball league. And we ate too much and argued about movies, and I drove home at 11 feeling full and warm and mostly fine. What I did not expect was what happened 4 days later. My mother called again on December 29th. This time her voice was different. Still calm, but a different kind of calm. The kind that's holding something back. Amber's boyfriend asked about you, she said. I was sitting at her, eating a sad run my stad then, sanding down a section of the rear quarter panel, and my hands were covered in grey dust. I tucked a phone between my ear and my shoulder. Okay, I said. He asked why you went there. Your father told him you had other plans. That's one way to put it. A pause. He didn't seem to accept that answer. I set down the sanding block. What does that mean? My mother's voice got a little tighter. He started asking Amber questions. About you. What you do, where you live. Amber told him you're a mechanic. She said it the way she says it. You know how she says it. I knew exactly how Amber said it. Like she was confessing something mildly embarrassing. Like someone had asked about a stain on the carpet. He apparently said that he thought that was really interesting, that his grandfather had owned an auto shop in Michigan, that he'd grown up around cars and had a lot of respect for people who actually knew how engines worked. I didn't say anything. Then he asked Amber directly. He asked her why her sister wasn't at Christmas. And Amber said, she said that you two'd always see eye to eye on things. She said that. And he said, my mother stopped, started again. He said he found that hard to believe because from everything he'd heard, you sounded like the most interesting person in the family. And he said that if you were his sister, he wouldn't have let anyone keep you away from the table. The garage was very quiet. I could hear the space heater running in the corner. He said that in front of everyone, I asked. He said it very calmly. That was the thing. He wasn't rude about it. He just said it. Like it was obvious. I picked up a lag and started working the dust off my hands. I wasn't sure what I felt. There was something warm in it, and something sad, and something that had no name yet. Your father tried to smooth it over, my mother continued. But the boyfriend, his name is Ryan, he kept coming back to it. He asked your father what you were like when you were growing up. He asked Amber if you two were close. And Amber couldn't really, she didn't have good answers, I think. Because we're not close, I said. We haven't been for years. That's not a secret. I know that. My mother's voice was quieter now. I just thought you should know what happened. Why are you telling me this? A long pause. Because I think we handled things badly. I let that sit. I'm not going to pretend that one phone call fixes anything, she said, which was maybe the most honest thing she'd said to me in years. But I wanted you to know. I told her I appreciated it, and I meant that too as much as I could. What happened after that was slower and less dramatic than you might expect. Real life usually is. Ryan texted me through Amber. She gave him my number, apparently, which surprised me, and he asked if I'd be willing to grab coffee sometime. He said he'd been wanting to talk to someone who knew carburetors because his grandfather's old Chevelle was sitting in a storage unit in Detroit, and he'd been trying to figure out what to do with it for 2 years. We met at a diner in January. He was quieter than I expected and funnier. He ordered black coffee and a slice of lemon pie, and he knew what a Rochester quadrajet carburetor was, which earned him approximately 40% of my trust immediately. We talked about the Chevelle for an hour and a half. He pulled up pictures on his phone, a 1970 SS, dark green, in rough but not hopeless shape. I told him what it would take to get it running. He took notes. At the end of it, he said, I want you to know that I think what happened at Christmas was wrong. I looked at my coffee. Amber knows I'm here, right? She does. And? He was quiet for a second. She's working through some things. I think she knows on some level. It's hard for people to admit when they've been part of something they shouldn't have been part of. I thought about that. Yeah, I said. I know. He ended up hiring me to consult on the Chevelle. meaning he brought it down from Detroit in February, and we spent a Saturday in my garage going through it together while I explained what needed to happen and gave him a realistic estimate of what it would cost to restore versus what it would be worth. He brought sandwiches. We listened to a football game on the radio. It was one of the better Saturdays I'd had in a while, which probably says something. Amber called me in March. It was the first time she'd called me in almost 8 months. She started with small talk, which we were both bad at, and then she said, "I'm sorry about Christmas." "Okay," I said, "I mean it. I know you do." I was sitting on my couch with the cat in my lap and I was trying to figure out what I actually wanted from this conversation. What would make it feel like something? "Can I ask you something?" "Yeah?" "When mom told you the plan, when they decided I shouldn't come, did you argue?" The silence lasted long enough that I had my answer. "I thought it would just be easier," Amber said finally. "I thought Ryan wouldn't notice. I thought I don't know what I thought." "You thought what they always taught us to think," I said. "That I was the problem." She didn't argue. That was something. We talked for about 40 minutes, which was longer than we'd talked in years. It wasn't a reconciliation. Not really. Not yet. It was more like two people who'd been standing on opposite sides of a wall finally admitting the wall was there. That felt like a start. I didn't know if it would become more than that. I was trying to want it to, which is different from wanting it. My father called 2 weeks after that. He was stiffer about it. My father has never been good at apology. He approaches it like a man trying to defuse something without instructions. He said he'd been thinking about things. He said he realized they had maybe not always presented me fairly to people. He said he was proud of me, and then he said it again, the second time a little louder, like he wasn't sure the first time had taken. It was imperfect. It was awkward. It was real. I said, "Thank you." I meant it. Here's the thing I keep coming back to. The thing I think about when I'm in the garage on a Saturday evening with the radio on and the Mustang slowly becoming what it was always supposed to be. Nobody who actually knows how to build something is embarrassed by the process. The mess is part of it. The grease under your nails is part of it. You don't get a restored 68 Mustang without taking the whole thing apart first, without getting your hands into it, without spending months in the cold figuring out what went wrong and how to make it right. I spent a long time being ashamed of what my family thought of me. And then, somewhere along the way, I just stopped. Not because I stopped caring, but because I looked at my life and I couldn't find anything in it that I was actually ashamed of. I work hard. I know what I'm doing. I build something real. The people who matter already know that. The Mustang should be road ready by June. I've already decided I'm driving it to Greta's 4th of July cookout. She's already told me she wants the first ride. That's enough. For now, that's more than enough.